Welcome to the first day of the Fish Co Singapore National Youth Sailing Championship 2013, the premier youth sailing event on the Singapore calendar and one of 3 regattas to decide the national teams who will represent Singapore at the elite youth sailing events around the world. Even though it is a small nation, for Singapore, sailing is high on the sports agenda, and over the last 3 years there has been a real explosion in participation and success stories, with many world and European championship titles and podium finishes achieved. Backing up this success story is the new title sponsorship of the championships by Fish Co, which is set for an initial 2-year term.
It's going to be our first sponsored regatta in Singapore. Yeah, and this is a special event, especially for the 420s, because it is actually the trials for 2 events, which is France. We're having a trip to Cairns, and for Kiel and Youth Worlds. Trials for very important events, and only one girl and guy pair gets to go for the Youth Worlds. It's a very prestigious youth event, so all of us will be fighting hard this 5 days.
9 different events are being contested at the Fish Co Singapore National Youth Sailing Championship, with 5 one-person dinghy classes, the 2-person 420 dinghy and 3 windsurfing classes. 13 races are scheduled through until Saturday the 23rd of March, when the podium deciding medal race takes place. The main interest is set to be in the 420 class, where 2 former Optimist World Champions, Kimberly Lim from 2011 and Yuki Yokohama from 2012, are racing head-to-head against each other. There is a small advantage for Lim and her crew Sue, as they already have 1 year of experience in the class and won last year's 420 Ladies World Championship in Austria. In fact, Singapore totally dominated last year's 420 Ladies Worlds, with 3 of the 4 competing teams finishing in the top 4, including securing gold and silver. Yokohama and her crew Ong were very competitive in today's light winds and stayed ahead of their rivals to score a bullet in today's first race, leaving Lim and Sue in second. In the bike class, the competition is also very high and has an added attraction, as it is one of the classes of boat raced at the IOC Youth Olympic Games, where only 1 spot is open for each country. So there is no room for second, and everyone will give their best as they seek to secure selection for next year's Youth Olympics in Nanying. Jasmine Lowe set down her intentions in today's first race, rounding first at the weather mark after a really strong upwind leg. But one of the most inspiring classes here is the Optimist Dinghy, a class which could be described as the nursery of world champions. It is the Optimist which has been the platform for many of the world's best sailors, who have gone on to success at elite level. The silver medalist at last year's Optimist World Championships, Samuel Neo, rounded first in the 2nd race today, and will be looking forward to take it 1 step further this year. With his rival from last year's Optimist World Championships, Yuki Yokohama, now competing in the 420 class, will Neo continue to be the natural successor to dominate in this really strong Optimist fleet? Weather-wise, it was really inconsistent during the morning, before increasing in strength later in the afternoon, and gave a resulting shuffling in the leaderboard positions as crew performances varied across the conditions. As always, consistency pays, and already it is many of Singapore's young sailor stars who are dominating the top positions on the leaderboard. But there are quite a few of the newer faces amongst the top positions. With 4 more race days and plenty of races yet to contest, positions are wide open in these closely fought fleets. Catch up with Singapore's best youth sailors tomorrow on day 2 of the Fish Co Singapore National Youth Sailing Championship 2013. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the 2nd day of the Fish Co National Youth Sailing Championships in Singapore. On yesterday's opening day, 4 races were completed in each of the fleets, and today was set to be another perfect day of racing. Fish Co, the title sponsors, are on site and are delighted with their new sponsorship of Singapore's pinnacle youth sailing event, which helps to encourage the next generation of young sailors and provides a platform to the next step in their sailing careers. The Fish Co National Youth Sailing Championships is primarily for Singaporean sailors, but equally welcomed are some teams from Hong Kong and Japan. The first race for the day for the bike class started as scheduled at 11 AM, with the fleet spread evenly along the line. But the right-hand side soon became the favoured side, so the boats heading up the left-hand side of the upwind track soon tacked across to the right to find better breeze. A similar approach was taken downwind, with the teams choosing to jibe to port and again stay where the breeze was stronger and more consistent. 80 athletes are contesting the bite event, and today it was Mildred Fang who was leading the fleet in race 5. followed closely by the two girls, Cheryl Teo and Candice Lee. After the top three girls, the rest of the fleet were in a bit of a congestion going round the mark, really closely packed together, with several sailors really finding it difficult to get clear wind. At the same time, the windsurfing fleet, a mix of RSX and big techno racers, were starting their first race for the day. With the lighter winds forcing the racers to pump their sails to get their boards moving, it was a real test of athletic ability when having to do it for a whole race. Over in Racing Area A, the laser fleets were in the middle of their second downwind leg. After yesterday's 4 races, Caleb Chong had a 7-point advantage at the top of the leaderboard over Jeremy Ong. And at this point in the race, it was neck and neck between Chong and Ong, who are very closely matched sailors. In the highly competitive 2-person 420 dinghy fleet, the two famous helms Kimberly Lim and Yuki Yokohama are fighting hard to win the championship, and with it secure the one place available at the ISAF Youth Sailing World Championships in Cyprus this summer. Both helms have World Championship titles to their credit, and both helms are focused on their mission. With 170 boats, the Optimist fleet is the biggest fleet competing here at the Fish Co National Youth Sailing Championships, the breeding ground for the future Singaporean sailing stars. Divided into 2 fleets, gold and silver, so far it is Edward Tan who has set the pace and led the fleet after yesterday's 4 races. Tan did not put in the performance he had planned at last year's Optimist Worlds in Santo Domingo, and is now intent on proving his ability here at the next Optimist World Championship. Even though we're only on the second day of the Fish Co National Youth Sailing Championships here in Singapore, the leaders are already starting to show. With 8 races now completed and competitors able to throw out their worst race score, the points are getting closer. The more races that are held, the more the results show the best sailors who are able to perform across the range of weather conditions on each day. And more races reduce the luck factor, which can happen when only a few races are held. So far here in Singapore, the wind has been stable during racing, with light wind in the morning and then increasing later in the day, really giving the opportunity to test sailors and for all body weights to race in their preferred conditions. Believing in the spirit of adventure, title sponsor Fish Co are aligning their restaurant's innovative dining experience with their passion for competitive sports and the values of sailing. With 3 more race days to go at the Fish Co National Youth Sailing Championships, there is a lot of race action still to happen. Stay tuned. The third day of the Fish Co Singapore National Youth Sailing Championships was a defining one. With 10 races completed for most fleets, sailors are making their mark on the leaderboard. With just 2 more days of racing to go, including Saturday's concluding medal races, the top 10 in each fleet are becoming established, with the scoreline still close across the fleets. While some fleets are being dominated by a few, in other fleets the competition is still wide open. So far, the regatta has delivered some stunning racing for the almost 350 young sailors racing here in Singapore. And today was another day of consistent but light winds. The level of competition is high, and particularly close in the Optimist and 420 classes, where the level of tactics and boat control is very demanding. The Singapore Optimist fleet has delivered some stunning sailing talent, with young Singapore sailors claiming World Championship titles. The next step for many Optimist sailors is the 2-person 420 class, where Singapore has also won gold and podium places at past 420 World Championships.
Our main competitors will probably be Yuki and her crew, Jaslyn. For this regatta, Kim is my main opponent because it's the trials for the ISAF Youth Worlds and the NQ week. Yuki has just came out of the Optimist not long ago, but her crew is pretty experienced too. Very talented and hardworking sailor, so she's a very tough opponent. So it's gonna take me at my 110% to win her. So I will see that this will be quite an interesting competition, and hopefully we do our best and qualify for the Youth Worlds this year.
In the second and final race for the day in the 420 class, it was Jessica and Rebecca Go that claimed the best start on leeward and soon tacked across in front and cover the rest of the fleet in a stylish move. Series leaders Kimberly Lim and Savannah Hsu were under them, while the second place team of Yuki Yokoyama and crew Yaslin Yong were further back in the pack and trying to edge through. The Go sisters kept their pace and rounded first at the weather mark, followed by T Sui Loon and Tik Ho Ying from Hong Kong. Lim and Hsu were on their tail in third, and Yokoyama with Ong rounded in 6th place and would need a miracle to get back in the game. During the first downwind leg, Lim and Hsu jibed first onto port and attacked from the right side of the track, with the Go sisters still controlling the race at the front. But it was only a matter of time before Lim and Hsu were boat to boat with them and slowly overtook. At the bottom mark, Lim and Hsu rounded first, a boat length ahead of the Go sisters. With the pressure on, Yokohama and Ong had achieved the impossible and sailed an unbelievable downwind leg to get back in touch with the top 5 of the fleet. With only one lap left, it was all or nothing for them if they wanted to keep in the game and maintain a close point score to the series leaders Lim and Hsu. And they did it. After an astounding downwind, Yokoyama with Ong managed to break into 3rd place, very close to the Go sisters who were in 2nd, and they held these positions to the finish line. With 2 races completed for most classes today, the leaderboards are shaping up to show the likely candidates in with a shot of standing on the podium. Only one more day of racing is left before the concluding medal races on Saturday. Now is the time for these young sailors to stay focused and calm and keep their minds on the racing. For many, the championships will be a stepping stone to their international sailing careers, as they seek selection to the national team, which will represent Singapore at the top international sailing events around the world. Expect the racing to heat up as the competition builds. Do not miss the final 2 days of the Fish Co Singapore National Youth Sailing Championship for 2013. Welcome back to the penultimate day of the Fish Co Singapore National Youth Sailing Championships for 2013. As the event enters its final stage, excitement is running high as crews jostle to be in the top 10 that will qualify through to Saturday's medal race and move closer to their goal of a podium finish and the chance to be selected to the Singapore sailing team who will compete at international events around the world this year. Extra checks on equipment before heading out to race are crucial, as any equipment failure is likely to force them off the racetrack. Let's have a look at the race course. First, there is a countdown to start sequence of 5 minutes, with a 5-minute, 4-minute, 1-minute and start sound signals. The starting line is between the race committee boat and a mark called the pin end. The fleet races a trapezoid course, which tests their sailing in upwind, reaching and downwind legs. The fleets all start upwind and then sail a reaching leg before heading downwind, followed by another loop of upwind and downwind, and then to the final rounding mark and a short fast reach into the finish. At the first start of the large Optimist class today, the wind shifted a lot, giving the opportunity to the sailors on leeward to quickly tack onto port and cross ahead of the rest of the fleet. Taking advantage of this shift were Master Sharin and Isaac Tang, who tacked again to benefit more from the left side. They held their position in this closely fought fleet and were the first to round at the weather mark, followed closely by Ramin Nilyu. Both Tang and Nilyu went into today within the top 10 overall on the leaderboard, so this race result would help them consolidate their positions as they focus on securing the best overall result possible ahead of tomorrow's double-point medal race. But a big pack of sailors ahead already started to close in on them, and their position was now looking threatened. While Sharin looked safe in the lead heading to round the bottom gate, having secured a big margin over the rest of the fleet, it was now Ryan Teo who had sneaked into 2nd place and chose to round the same gate mark as Sharin. At this stage, Chin Zong and Ryan Wok were in 3rd and 4th places respectively, and chose the left gate mark. Heading into the last upwind leg, Sharin and Teo confidently held their positions at the front of the fleet, extending their lead over the others. Fathin Rasikin kept her focus and managed to claw her way through the closely matched leading pack to shift up into 3rd in the race and secure her 2nd place overall. Over on race A, the laser radars were having their first race of the day. Overall leader Ryan Lowe has totally dominated the event so far and added to his outstanding performance by winning every race today to claim 7 race wins from the 12 races held so far. After missing a podium finish at the 2011 Optimist World Championship in New Zealand and finishing 4th by just 1 point, Lowe is determined to prove himself and claim the top spot on the podium here in Singapore. His performance so far has been outstanding, and he carries just 18 points on his scoreline, and a margin of 33 points over the 2nd placed helm of Javin Ong. With most of the fleet having completed 12 races, tomorrow will see a final race, and then the top 10 in each fleet will qualify through to the medal race, with the all-important double point score, which can so easily rocket teams down the leaderboard. So even if fleets go into the medal race with a big points difference, anything can happen in the final race. It is a race for nerves of steel, and different tactics will be used, as the number of boats competing decreases dramatically. This is particularly significant for classes like the Optimist or the Bite, where the fleets have been in excess of 80 boats, and will drop to just 10. So it remains to be seen who will be Singapore's national youth sailing champions, and who will get the chance to represent their nation to the international events scheduled for this year. The championship has been a fantastic showcase for Singapore sailing, with excellent racing conditions and excellent sportsmanship on the racetrack and ashore. Until tomorrow, stay tuned and do not miss the grand finale for the 2013 Fish Co Singapore National Youth Sailing Championships.
Saturday, 23 March was the last day at the Fish Co Singapore National Youth Sailing Championships, and the weather challenged everybody today, race committee and sailors. A really unstable breeze added to the tensions already out in the course areas and tested the patience of teams, particularly those hoping to progress through to the medal races. The sailors arrived early at the venue in order to get ready for the final day. The original schedule was for a final race to decide the top 10 boats in each fleet, which would go through to the final medal race. Racing was scheduled to get underway at 1300 hours, and so it happened. However, immediately after, the wind did a badly timed disappearing act, forcing sailors to wait. Finally, the wind picked up significantly to get racing underway, and the sailors and numerous spectators got ready for the medal races. This concept of a concluding double points races followed the format of the Olympic sailing competition, and with the increased focus on the final race, helps to make the sport more spectator and media friendly. The medal races started at 1500, with the windsurfers racing first and having a blast with today's conditions. Winner of the RSX class was Merrick Fung Jung Yi, with Nicholas Wee winning at the Big Technos. Not after a long delay, the Laser Standard class started with the two top of the leaderboard, Caleb Chong and Jeremy Ong, going in with a point tie. So anyone who would finish in front of the other would be the overall winner. Jeremy Ong at first was ahead of Caleb Chong, with Lucas Lee being in front of both. But it was the second upwind that was the defining one, where Caleb Ong sailed along the left side of the course and managed to round on top at the weather mark. Jeremy Ong was trying his best to overtake him during downwind, but Caleb Chong had already created a safe lead and crossed the finish line in first place, securing his overall win. After a long delay due to wind change, it was time for the 420s to start. Here, Yuki Yokoyama and Jasleen Ong had to put between them event leaders Kimberly Lim and Savannah Siu many boats in order to get into first. Yuki was the first to head for the right side where the wind was stronger, but she tacked soon to cover Kimberly. And so she left the right side unattended, giving the chance to Tsei Tsui and Cheek Ho to cross ahead. After that, it was very hard to recover and gain the needed places, so even though she finished in front of Kim, she had to be happy with second place overall. Let's have a look at the final results. Fathin Razi Queen dominated in the Opti class. Same for Kimberly Lim and Savannah Siu in the 420s. It was a tough 5 days of racing and all winners gave it all. Tricky weather conditions and shifty weather brought a lot of ups and downs. Time now for the prize-giving ceremony, where the winners receive their trophies in front of their audience. That was it from Singapore and the Fish Co Singapore National Youth Sailing Championships 2013. Thanks for watching.